Hi, I'm Sonya White Jaguar. Welcome to White Jaguar Weekend Read, my weekly audiobook series. Let's continue with my free book, Writing Alan Rickman's Autobiography, a fan fiction romance. Chapter 15, Pouring into the Chalice. Shortly after our return to New York, Alan had to spend a few months in London. While he was away, I set to work on producing the first draft of his autobiography. I was determined to have something to show him when I next saw him. However, there were so many gaps in the story, I found it impossible to make any progress. To my dismay, I'd have to wait for Alan's return so I could ask him more questions. My frustration with this project was never ending. None of my romance novels had been this difficult to complete. I used the downtime to begin seriously considering the advice Alan had given me about writing specifically for women as a way to reboot my failing career. I read many books that provided food for thought. My research taught me that women's literature is a sizable market and could be a worthwhile endeavor, but I still had my doubts. As a woman who'd never married or had children, I didn't feel I'd be able to adequately relate to the average woman, since marriage and children play such a large role in the typical woman's life. I also didn't have a significant story about my family history or life lesson to share as a woman. And I wasn't a feminist, so I couldn't speak to that audience. Inner transformation after a life-changing event is the driving theme of women's literature, and I didn't have that type of story to tell about myself. At least, not yet. When Alan and I finally had the chance to meet again at his apartment, he invited me for an evening skinny dip in the jacuzzi on the terrace. Tired from his travel, he closed his eyes and leaned back against the jacuzzi wall with his arms out straight, hands holding onto the round frame. I sat directly across from him. With the jets on full blast, the rippling water rocked us like a mother would cradle a child. I felt protected and soothed, which I usually did when I was with Alan, even if his mind was on other things. That seemed to be the case that night, because he wasn't as talkative as usual. I dismissed it, thinking he was just busy preparing for upcoming work projects. After some small talk, I shared what I'd studied while he was away, and how I thought we could apply some of what I'd learned to his book. I said, "At your suggestion, I did a lot of research on women's literature. I ended up reading one particular book that may surprise you. You'd think I would have read it years ago, since there's an unforgettable, tragic love story in the middle of it that even many non-readers are aware of." "Oh," Alan said, raising an eyebrow. "What did you read?" "The Thornbirds," I replied. His eyes popped open and stared at me across the hot tub. I had his attention. "Have you read it?" I asked him. "No," he replied, "but I watched the television miniseries when it first came out. I remember it caused quite a stir." "Yes," I said, "I remember that too. It was a phenomenon. Night after night, people waited with bated breath for the next episode. I wish I'd read the book sooner. What a page-turner." Written by Australian novelist Maureen McCullough in the 1970s, The Thornbirds is the best-selling book in Australian history and has sold over 33 million copies worldwide. It's a sweeping epic that masterfully weaves together a tale of forbidden love, sacrifice, and family secrets over the course of 3 generations. I continued, "The world building is impressive, and the recurring themes of ambition, duty, and sacrifice are very striking. What really jumped out at me, though, was what I consider to be feminine energy story structure. The author may or may not have been conscious of what she was doing, but it was apparent to me. The story follows 3 generations of a family and keeps circling back around to all the characters without a clear resolution for many of them. It's not unlike the structure of your film The Winter Guest, which we talked about before." Alan rolled his eyes and lightly banged his head back against the edge of the hot tub. "Here we go again with story structure," he whined. "Hear me out," I said. "I think it would be effective for your autobiography. Your work in this life isn't done. So why structure the book in a linear fashion, using the masculine energy approach? There's no need for the story to culminate in a climax and reveal some big lesson learned, since that's not where you are. I do have questions for you, though, and I'd like to fill in some more gaps about your past." Alan's face turned red. and I feared his eyes would pop out of their sockets as they grew wider. "Oh, will you just forget about my book?" he spat at me. Shocked by his outburst, I said nothing. "I'm so tired, so angry," he wailed. "About your book?" I asked. "No." He didn't elaborate, so I prodded him by asking, "Alan, what's wrong?" "I feel so helpless," he said finally. "I'm tired of everything I see around me. I'm disgusted with the world. It's such a pity, all the violence, all the wars, all the destruction. Why couldn't we have done a better job? It's all so senseless on the surface." He guffawed. "I know I sound like a Dadaist, but I don't care. What does any of it matter? Why did I buy this apartment? Why did I buy all these things?" He waved a hand toward the furniture on the terrace. "I don't want to look at it anymore. It's all a sham, all a waste of money and refined taste." This wasn't the Alan I knew. I was utterly dumbfounded. "What are you talking about?" Tears welled up in his eyes. After a few moments, he breathed, "There's so much I still want to do." Something was terribly wrong. Alan needed comfort, so I waded across the hot tub and sat on his lap, straddling his legs. Wrapping my arms around his neck, I held him and let the water flow around us. "Forget the autobiography," I said. "Forget the world. Forget money and art. Just forget everything. This time is for you. This is a safe space." I pointed at the jacuzzi. "Let this be your chalice. Pour your heart out into this sacred space." Alan clasped my waist as he flashed a forlorn smile. "Well, I suppose that's fitting. I can't put the pain I feel into words. I'm struggling to find meaning in my life. Did anything that I accomplished make a difference? No matter how hard I tried, nothing seemed to change. What was it all for?" Chuckling, he said, "I just want to run away from here. Will you come with me to the south of France? Or maybe the Caribbean instead. I can drown myself there and no one would know." He shook his head. "I'm an incredibly immature man. Before I met you, I wasn't sure if you'd want anything to do with me. You're a mature woman. I always liked that about you. You make me feel as though all is right with the world. I was looking for someone to reassure me that all was right with the world. From the moment I first read your work, I wanted you. If we could have spent the rest of our lives together, you would have healed me from the inside out. I couldn't tell you that back then, of course. You would have thought I was just being foolish. My life would have been incomplete without you this past year, like the last piece of the mosaic finally put into place. I don't even know how to tell you how much I love you." He burst out crying, and I watched in silence as tears poured down his face. "I would have asked you to marry me," he said between sobs. "We could have raised a family together. I would have left acting and become a writer with you. You could have taught me how to write. We could have moved to the south of France and written romances together." A sense of dread gnawed at the edge of my awareness, and I pushed it away as best I could. I'm certain I was gaping at Alan. After taking a moment to compose myself, I finally managed to say, "Why are you telling me all these things?" Never taking his eyes off mine, he breathed a long, heavy sigh. Then he whispered, "Darling, I have cancer, and it's not going to get better." Join me next week for Chapter 16, The Eternal Garden. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you'll be notified when the next video is posted. You can also sign up for my newsletter on my website, sonyawhitejaguar.com, and get notified that way. I send out newsletters twice a month. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next week.